This week on Rockstar Superhero. There's only so much I can say about my conversation with thrash legend Tim Tymo. I did get quite a bit out of him today, but I wish I could just sit down with him for a day or two and pick his brain. Tim knows so much about music. He's insanely passionate and filled with joy over the silliest things. And he's a genuinely lovable guy. I mean, really, man, what a mensch. Tim is currently promoting the new album, The Art of a Maniac, and it sounds like the title suggests. It's raw, unfiltered, pinpoint accurate, thrashy, trashy, and utterly awesome in its purview. It's a bonkers record and one that you need to let wash over you like toxic sludge because that's the only way you're going to get the point. This is my excitable interview with the man himself. This is Tim Tymo, and this is Rockstar Superhero. This is the coolest thing in a long time. I'm a huge fan of your band. And the funny thing is, I mean, you guys have been around for quite a while, but I hadn't heard of you. It just goes to show you there's way too much content on the internet, right?
Yeah.
But I hadn't heard of you until recently. So you know, your promo company's doing a great job. I mean, you're with Asher, right?
Yeah, John Asher has done amazing for us.
Yeah.
Like, 10 out of 10. Nice guy, does good work, and we're probably going to work with him like every time.
Good. I'm glad. Yeah, he's a really good cat. He's got a big heart, and he's a fighter. You know what I mean? He'll go to bat for the bands. And, you know, for me, I mean, again, the discovery's been so sweet because I'm a big fan of what you guys do. And so before I ask you questions, I just wanted to thank you as a start. Man, thanks for taking the time tonight. And I know you should probably be rehearsing or something, but, you know, being here on the show with me is really cool.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. No, I always have time to chat.
Yeah. Well, you know, this kind of stuff doesn't happen anymore to me because, you know, like I said, I'm in my mid 50s, but I mean, I love your material. I think it's because it's reminiscent of early 80s thrash and that takes me back to high school, you know, which was a really, honestly, for me, I'm probably one of the few people. It was a really, really rad time in my life, you know?
Well, you're lucky to have been like experiencing that back in the 80s. Like that is my dream to go back to the 80s and like when thrash was new, like,
oh my God.
I really envy you.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, again, that's what's so rad about this is because I get to re-experience that. I mean, there's a resurgence going on right now. I mean, thrash obviously hasn't ever gone away,
No.
but it seems like it's more acceptable. I mean, I know that's kind of lame, and who wants it to be acceptable? But it is, right? It's modernly cool, you know.
Yeah, like I think in the 90s, I remember reading like a lot of thrash bands were struggling, like they had to readapt their sound.
Yeah.
And like I get that, you know, you try to keep with the times, but
yeah,
I think it's at a point now it's just like, oh, it's thrash. It's got to stay thrash. That's at least my take on it.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, but the cool part about thrash is it's so easily identifiable. I mean, with all the subgenres in metal, it's right. It's a nightmare. You got gent, you got deathcore, you got blockcore, shitcore, grindcore, gorecore, metalcore, thrashcore. Right? It's like the shrimp thing from Gump.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, other people be like, yeah, I listen to rock, I listen to pop. And then someone says, I listen to metal. And it's like, okay, you got to be more specific. Like, what kind of metal?
Right.
And you go down all the branches of all the subgenres. I love it.
Yeah. But there has to be something. I mean, I wonder why that is, because the thing is people really take metal seriously. Like, I mean, of all the genres of music, it doesn't feel like pop or country or even alternative rock. People are like, no. I listen to Meshuggah, for example, right? And Meshuggah is gent and it's hardcore and it's got a thrash element, but it's gent. You know what I mean? Yeah. And well, what is that? You know what I mean? And I don't understand why we have to have it so specific. And yet, man, those fans, they never go away, you know?
No, like it's like the loyalty, like from metal fans, like it's even if you make a bad record, I've seen like some bands make bad records. No, the fans are still there and very forgiving. Like, of course, they'll voice their opinion, and that's good. That's really good. Yeah. You want that feedback, but like, you know, like Metallica, for example.
Yeah. What were they thinking with Lulu, right?
Yeah. I'm still trying to find some like brilliance in it. It hasn't grabbed me yet.
There's nothing in there, brother. They crapped that all over the floor. I mean, I remember when it happened. I was like, wow, this is going to be amazing, right? I was actually stoked about it. Yeah. And I'm not a big Metallica guy. I mean, I obviously see their place in the pantheon of mega bands. It's just not necessarily my jam, but you know, when they had Lou Reed, and I'm like, what? Like, well, like, this is going to be insane. And it was insanely not insane.
Yeah, I have to say, I actually own it and I revisit it every once in a while. I'm like, okay, time has passed. Maybe now?
Right. No.
Still, it hasn't grabbed me yet. Saint Anger's aged a little better for me. That's a bold statement, but
that's another ballsy record. I mean, obviously the drum tones, I mean, I'm a drummer, and so the drum tones really bothered me. And yet I like big, open, throaty drums. So, I mean, again, I appreciated them saying, well, let's, you know, basically make everything sound like a trash can. I get that. I mean, I do get that. But it doesn't fit in that big bombastic sound that we were used to. I mean, especially the Black Album that had megatones for days, right? It was very deep and it was very analog. Yeah,
and same even Load and Reload, like they were a little drier, but still very polished. And I guess they just really wanted a raw sounding record and really took a risk and tried something different, which I respect 100%. Like I appreciate them for doing that. And I know everyone did not like that album when it came out, but now it's like, I don't know. I feel it, especially when you're angry. That's a good album to listen to.
Yeah. It's their punk album.
Yeah.
You know, that's how I see it.
I definitely appreciate it.
Yeah.
A lot of people be like, what do you mean? But
yeah. Well, I'll tell you, man, I got to tell you a little story. So there was a place, I grew up all over the place. Okay. My dad was a salesman, but long story short, I graduated high school in Olympia, Washington, and Olympia is like where K Records started, right? So you got Nirvana and Bikini Kill and, well, geez, you name it, right? Every freaking punk band back in the day was coming out of the Pacific Northwest. And, you know, I mean, Black Flag was like they showed up twice a year to play shows in Olympia. I mean, it was crazy times. And there was this record store called Rainy Day Records that was not that far from my house. And they used to carry all sorts of really cool stuff, you know, independent vinyl and records by Sodom and Kreator, right? I mean, you know, like the old school hardcore bloody covers, the stuff your parents would never let you buy. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about?
Yep, absolutely. The best kind of covers.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. Right. It was such. I'm sorry for talking over the top of you. I apologize.
It's all good, man. It's all good. We're both stoked.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. We're stoked, right? Just good about times, right?
It's just past as soon as you start talking about thrash metal album covers and thrash metal albums. It's like yes.
Yeah. That was weird. You all of a sudden did you drop off for a second there?
Maybe something cut out or something. Maybe something with Tellus.
No, that's all right. Well, we're back at it. Okay. Well, anyway, you know what I'm talking about. The guilty pleasure of looking at or listening to things that you knew your parents didn't like or want you to be influenced by. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering if that was the precursor to your musical growth. You know, were you pursuing the thrash thing because that's what you you saw happening and you wanted to be a part of it, and maybe it was kind of counterculture and against what was happening?
Yeah, I remember being blown away by the guitar playing. Like, what got me into thrash was, like, of course, hearing bands like Megadeth, Metallica, Kreator,
Right.
Sodom. Like, originally this project, it started out as a hard rock project. Like, I didn't know what else to call the band, so I called it Tymo.
Yeah.
I worked on a solo album. I don't know what I was doing. Then the rest of the guys joined, and we're like, hey, we all love thrash metal. Let's play thrash metal. And next thing you know, we were a thrash metal band. But thrash metal has always been like just I don't know, like a stick it to the man kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know the word I'm looking for, but like it has attitude.
It's an attitude. It's a middle finger to everything. I mean, it's even a middle finger to the fans, right? I mean, in a loving way, but it's I say this a lot, but it's I dare you to care.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just trying to think, like, what was it that, like, even when I was a kid, like, my parents were scared of Marilyn Manson. That was one for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Who
I
isn't?
get you. You were born in 89. I'm sorry, 89?
89, yeah.
Okay, that's the same year as my son. So you could be my son.
Awesome.
He's a great guy. So yeah. So I mean, I get you, Marilyn Manson. So you would have been 8 years old. So I mean, that was like Satan, man.
Yeah, like I remember my stepbrother. He had Antichrist Superstar or something like that, and my parents were just petrified.
Yeah.
And of course, me, I'm like, oh, what's this? What's scaring mom and dad? Like,
well, so how do you end up then? I mean, I get the Antichrist Superstar thing because of your age, right? But how do you say, I want to listen to Sodom? I mean, come on, man. This is dark German death stuff. You know what I mean? That's not normal, man.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, I'm just trying to think of the timeline. Like, I started Marilyn Manson because I thought that was the big, oh yeah, I'm a rebel type thing.
Yeah.
And then Metallica. Then, of course, all the other bands started flooding in, like Iron Maiden, Megadeth. Then you had some friends that were like, oh, check out Death, check out Sodom, check out Municipal Waste.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I found home. This is home.
Yeah. So it seems to me that you actually fell in love with more of the punky side of it, like the Fugazi side, the 24/7 Spies side, right? The crazy Baltimore, New York sort of death scene. Yeah,
like it started off, I want to say mild, then it just slowly got heavier and faster. And I'm like, okay, this constantly, like more. I want faster. I want more guitar. I want solos everywhere. And then I hear bands like that, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that feels good.
Yeah. So I had an interview earlier today, and we were talking about this very thing. And I think this is really cool, Tim, because you're proof that it happens. I don't know many people like me. And that is, as I grew older, I went from listening to bands like Kansas and Styx and Rush, and I mean, there were progressive rock bands, and again, because I'm a drummer, I was drawn to all the all the notes and time changes and whatnot. But it was very melodic, anthemic music, right? It in a lot of ways kind of almost easy listening compared to the stuff that we're encountering today, right?
You're a master at that.
Yeah, and now I'm listening to Gojira and Atlas and Tymo and all these bands that are really, really aggressive and pushing the envelope. And I don't know why that happens, because typically as you get older, you get softer, right? You kind of go back a little bit and go to the safer stuff because you don't have to think too hard. You know what I mean? And you're proof that I have a brother because you're proof that I'm the normal guy here, man. This is the way it's supposed to be. You're supposed to get more aggressive as you get older.
Exactly. When we're like all in senior homes, I want a mosh pit in the senior home. We probably won't move very fast, but no, I want to like a metal concert in the like chapel area.
Yes. Yes. I wanna tell you what, I will put together a metal concert in the chapel. We'll stream it everywhere we can, and you'll play the show. And it'll be great.
That sounds great. I'm just hoping we can still play. Someone might have to tune down really low and maybe pull the songs down a bit. We'll try.
Yeah.
Try.
Yeah. You're not going to change the key of the song. You're just going to drop tune.
Exactly. Because I probably won't be able to sing as high or scream. It'll be interesting, especially like with like our generations. Like we see senior homes now, and they like Johnny Cash and stuff from the 60s and 50s.
Right.
It'll be interesting once like generations that grew up on metal and thrash metal and senior homes, like so, or like the grandma and grandpa gonna be like cranking Slayer from their room, like it's
I don't know.
I'm stoked.
Absolutely. I think for me, I mean, if somebody were to say I gotta pick a classic thrash album, it's gonna be Among the Living by Anthrax.
Yeah, I love that album.
That to me is the standard. I mean, you got Indians, you got I Am the Law. I mean, you got just, oh my God, you've got the best stuff. I freaking love that album so much. And I remember driving around Charleston, South Carolina back in 1988. I have it on cassette, and I'm literally headbanging in my little car. And I'm lost in it. I'm thrashing my head, and I turn over and look off to the left, and there's an entire family, and they're all just snickering at me. And I was so happy that it didn't matter. Like, I didn't care. I was lost in my world, and that was good. And I've never lost that,
Similar thing happened to me back in like 2009. I had Pantera's Cowboys from Hell.
Oh, there it is.
In my crappy 1988 Chevrolet Corsica. It was leaking. Every fluid muffler was hanging off. And I had Primal Concrete Sledge just cranked. And the kids in the next minivan are just like looking at their parents and looking at me, and just like, yeah. And that's a heavy song, just do it. And it was another one of those moments. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, there's something about, and I think you and I are both agreeing on this too. We love groove. Guys like us, we love groove, right?
Yes, even like in our new album, The Art of a Maniac, there's some groove sneaking in there. Like it's just, you can't kill the groove.
Oh yeah,
you gotta have it.
Yeah, no, I agree. What was the track? It's the last track you released like 14, 15 days ago.
Oh, Age of Deception?
God, that's a great song. Oh my God, that's a great song. That's got to be my favorite. I mean, I listened to the whole album because, John sent it to me. But yeah. I love that song. That's the cream for me, man.
I'll have to let Nick know, our guitarist. Funny story. He's been sitting on that song for 12 years, I think.
Wow.
And he wrote the whole thing instrumentally. The rest of us came in, learned it. I put a solo on top of it and wrote lyrics. But he for years he sat on. He's like, "Oh, I don't think it's very good. Like, I think it sucks." Then he showed us right before we started writing this album, and I'm like, "Are you kidding? You're sitting on this?"
Yeah.
And he was taking jazz guitar lessons at the time, so that kind of the arrangement and the groove, like, I think what gave it its sound. I'm at a loss for words, but just
no, it's okay, man. You know what it is, Tim. We're both excited. I mean, I keep talking over the top of you because I apologize because I can't wait to say like the next thing because I'm so excited to have you here. I'm literally stoked.
Oh, thank you. No, I'm stoked to be talking to you. Like, it's good to talk to a fellow thrash fan and metal fan.
Yeah, dude. I'm telling you, man. I know you hate this. I hate this when everybody talks about the influences because they go to the obvious things, right? And a guy like me who's in the business of promotion and or the interview and talking about stuff, we go for the safe bet every time. Oh, that record sounds like Metallica, or oh, that record sounds like Megadeth. And it might. Yeah. But to me, when people talk about Maiden, like to me, the very first thing I thought of outside of the whole Kreator and Sodom thing was Maiden, that first record, because the first record was a punk thrash record, right? It was before they started galloping.
Yeah, when the Paul Di'Anno era.
Yeah.
I
I
love it.
love that
It's
stuff.
so raw, like especially the first album, like Phantom of the Opera on
Yep.
there, and
Yeah.
Prowler, and Prowler was on the first album. Maybe I have a brain fart.
I'm pretty sure. I don't actually own it. It's one of those albums that I've heard a million times, but I don't own.
Same here. I have all the Bruce Dickinson stuff. Like nothing against Paul Di'Anno. I still have to get those first two albums, but
yeah.
like I have like pretty much everything Number of the Beast onward, and that is not intentional. I guess I just never got around to buying those first two records. But
well, I mean, it's because the Maiden we all knew and fell in love with is the post, right? It's the Bruce Dickinson stuff. It is. It just. I mean, like I don't know, like you said, Number of the Beast, whatever. Any of that stuff is so. It's so well performed. They went from being a punk thrash band to a power metal band.
Yeah, it's amazing listening to the transformation of sound, like just from Iron Maiden, their debut album, to Number of the Beast. Like it is so different. And I think they discovered Bruce's vocal range and was like, okay, so let's take it in this direction.
Yeah.
I think Power Slave has to be my favorite album. I always have to revisit Power Slave.
It's killer, and it's my favorite album cover.
Yes, I love that album cover.
I love it. I love it so much. I mean, it's so honestly, it's almost laughable in its predictability, right? The whole the pyramid and but I just love the whole idea of Eddie. Just all of it is just so. Again, I mean, clearly, we're both like in childhood fantasy dreamland right now because we're talking about these goofy things that we can't stop smiling. So anybody's listening to the show, trust me, Tim and we are smirking from ear to ear right now. If they're not watching the video because it's fun.
Especially during these COVID times, it's just like, oh yeah, there is something awesome still. Yeah, there's positivity. I feel like a kid again.
Yeah.
So when we were teenagers and discovering like these bands for the first time, it was a magical feeling, and you had to study and know everything about these bands.
Yeah. I've been wanting to ask this because thrash, again, one more thrash question before we move forward.
No problem.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thrash is typically a pretty sloppy music. When you get down to it, it's a sloppy music. And you guys aren't sloppy at all.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I personally feel sloppy, but I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to point that out because I think, it's such a weird genre. And I guess, like a lot of people poo-poo it, right? Because they say, oh, it's a lot of notes. It's fast. It tends to have that, either the like a double time feel or a gallop, right?
Yeah.
And it tends to have that power metal solo and that, again, that Iron Maiden feel. But it's rarely refined, and your record really turned me on to the fact that, wow, there's somebody who loves it and they want to be good at it. You know what I mean?
I appreciate that. I think it could be like coming from like the punk influence too.
Maybe
thrash kind of was created like with punk, like a mixture of punk and heavy metal.
Yeah.
And like playing fast, yeah, that's good. That's one thing. But what we really try to do is play fast, but be accurate at the same time. Like if you can nail both worlds, you'll have a great product. But some bands, they make it work. They sound good just being fast. Sometimes it's going so fast you don't have time to even hear the notes.
Yeah. But you know what? Your stuff has attitude. And I think so when people realize, okay, they're drawn to it, they're not necessarily sure why they're drawn to it, right? Good melody, again, the attitude, or maybe a theme. But when you couple that with great musicianship, and again, really tight playing, that's the recipe for next level success, right? Yeah,
like really what we try to do, we push the BPMs as much as we can until our arms fall off. But we usually use a speed trainer sometimes. Like sometimes if we're not ready to quite play the song to full speed yet, we'll play it at like 60% the speed. Then, okay, let's bump it up to 70. Let's bump it up to 80. And then you just kind of speed build. We use a program called Guitar Pro. It's you can write tablature out on it, and it really good tool for songwriting and practicing. And we had to do that a lot on this album. It's like, oh, okay, it's at 170 BPM. Can we bump it to 180? And there's probably other thrash bands right now just like, oh, that's nothing. Like we BPM. We're getting there. We're getting there. Just gotta.
I don't know. Pardon me. I don't know if it has to be faster. You know what I mean? I mean, like, I get why thrash is the way it is. I get it, but I want to hear the melody in there. I want to hear what you're saying. You know what I mean? And honestly, I mean, I'll be the first person to tell you, I normally could give two craps about lyrical content. I'm listening to the beat. I'm listening to the transitions and the melodies and the cool arrangement ideas. I don't like something that's barreling so fast that when you go see it live, they can't keep up to the original, or they're so fragged out that they, you know what I mean? It's just a mess live. I can't stand that.
Yeah, very important to really try to replicate what you did in the studio. That's why, like, when we record our albums, we try not to overproduce too much, like add too many layers. So when you go to play it live, it sounds so bare. Like, of course, like every album will have its overdubs, like extra vocals and stuff, but we try our best to replicate it live so it translates well. There were a few songs on the last album that just did not translate right. Maybe we'll play it again, but we'll see.
Yeah, I get you. You know, something I wanted to ask you about. I made a mental note to hit you on this. The Guitar Hero. Okay, I'm not talking about the game. I'm talking about like the traditional Guitar Hero. In the 60s, you had Hendrix, right?
Yeah.
And then in the 70s, you got the early, you got Jimmy Page, and then the early stages of Eddie, right?
Yeah, Eddie.
Right. And then the 80s, you definitely have Eddie kind of going full bore, leading into Steve Vai in the late 80s, early 90s. And then you got Petrucci in the 90s. But there's like no more Guitar Heroes. It's like, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of killer players.
Yeah.
But I mean, like true old school gods, right? The Claptons, the Eddie Van Halen's. I mean, not that they're all dying off. It's just like, I don't want to blame Nirvana for everything, but it's like once Nirvana came and flipped the table over on the 80s, the power pop, the fluff metal stuff, right? The poser stuff, which I'm glad I'm glad they did. I mean, I loved it. At the same time, I was glad they knocked the table over so we could get something new and tasty.
Something more real, kind of like I'm against hair metal or glam. I actually like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, grunge just came out of left field, and it was just more real. I think that was when society was struggling with stuff. You had wars going on. And I feel like that happens. Sometimes you go through a period that's polished and about partying, and then the rougher, real stuff comes. Like it seems like it's a pattern.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. But.
Yeah. No, I don't think you're wrong. I mean, I agree with you. I just wonder, and I was hoping you kind of had a take on it. Why did the era of the Guitar Hero go away? Because, I mean, great. Look, we have killer players now, but they're really more on the progressive metal side. You got, Toes and Abasi from Animals as Leaders. You got Pliny from Pliny, right? You got all these players in like Olivia, and you got Rowan and I Built the Sky. You got they're freaking monster players.
Yeah.
But there are no guitar gods in there. There are no Zach Wilds holding their guitar on fire. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It could be.
Is it
got
stupid?
A feeling internet has something to do with it because, you see like YouTubers, like, just in their home, and they're like phenomenal, like best shredder like you've ever seen, right? Yeah. I think it's just more saturated now. There's more access to it. Like back then, you had to go to the record store and purchase a record and be like, "Whoa, this guy's awesome."
Yeah.
Now, I just think there's more access. Like there's more of a chance to see more guitarists, and that's my take on it, at least.
Yeah. Maybe you have to burn something down, right? I mean, I'm not saying you should, but I am suggesting Tim, psst, I'm suggesting, yeah, man, I'm suggesting that somebody with chops, you got to have chops. You can't just be an average player, but somebody take the mantle, because it seems that nobody wants to be the old school world-class player that has a little bit of panache, right? Like, again, Van Halen, man, when Eddie died, it was game over. It changed. Everything changed.
That was not a good day. That was, no. I failed to see Van Halen live. So Same. Just thinking about these deaths, like, oh, missed that opportunity. Like, even when Neil Peart died too, I'm like, I missed Rush 2 times. Like, I think I had to work or something. I forget, or I was poor, or I couldn't afford tickets. But
yeah, that's a tough one. I saw Rush once. I saw the R30 tour. It took me freaking 30 years to see him. But they played Natural Science, so my life was complete at that moment. You know what I mean?
From Permanent Waves, I think that was on, right?
Yep. I love that record. That's the transitional record between the old school and the modern thing that they were doing, right?
Yeah. He's still a good tour. I love that set list, like on the R30 DVD they played.
Oh, so good. It was so good. And I mean, it was loud. I went home deaf, but it was worth every inch of it. Dude, I want to talk about Art of the Maniac.
Okay.
Comes out not that long from now. I mean, you've got a couple releases already out in front of us, right?
Next week already.
Yeah, February 5th.
Yep.
At least in the States, right? I mean, it's coming out like on the 16th, I think, in Japan.
Yep. Yeah. So it'll be February 5th for the first edition. Okay. So like even in Japan, they can access this edition, but we have the Japanese edition, which will have 2 bonus tracks on it.
Right.
And it's a couple of tracks of us rehearsing. And so it's coming up fast. I can't believe it. We've been sitting on this album for 2 years because of COVID, and it's finally coming to, and it's like, okay, well, hopefully everyone likes it.
I'm pretty sure they will. They obviously have to find out about it, right? I mean, it's like anything. Like you said, there's so much content. Mm-hmm. How do you find out about things unless you got everybody in the world promoting them? But, I'll do my best to get it out there.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely, brother. I'm curious why Japan? I mean, again, my wife is Japanese. I understand how Japanese markets work. They still have Tower Records, for God's sake, right? You can still go in there and buy a CD stack off. And Vai's latest album came out, and there was literally a tower of Steve Vai CDs, which is crazy.
Well, I have to go over there and see that. Like, I hear so much about Tower Records. I'm like, okay, that sounds like my kind of store.
Yeah, it's an amazing experience. But I was wondering, is that why? The Japanese market's going to buy it, or they're because they're collectors. Why are you doing the extras for them?
We were approached by Spiritual Beast. They're a Japanese record label, and they asked us if we were interested in doing a Japanese version of The Art of a Maniac, and we thought, absolutely. And the fans over there are just so passionate and hardcore. And ever since we signed this deal, like our sales have been picking up. They've been buying. Like fans from over there have been buying the last album, Purge and Reset, and pre-ordering this one, of course. So it's definitely a reason to go over there and play. And of course, to see the country, Japan's definitely on my bucket list.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just seemed like a no-brainer when they asked us. And yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, man. I'm so happy for you because so first things first, if I'm over there, you got to hit me up. I'll totally show you around. I freaking love Japan. It's like the greatest place in the world. And I do plan on moving back someday. Yeah. But dude, Japan is crazy. It's literally like you think it is, except amplified. Okay. So I
really want to go now.
Yeah. Like all the crazy stuff, all the stuff you see in the TV stuff and the movies, it's really like that. It's really like Blade Runner. And yet you can go 10 blocks out of the city core and you can't even hear the noise. I mean, it's like you're in the countryside. It's crazy.
Really?
Yeah. Amazing place.
a lot of my favorite things have come from Japan. Like, you know, the video games I grew up with, like, all created in Japan. It's definitely like a place I really want to visit. And all the TV shows too. Like, I don't know if you've seen that one that Marty Friedman hosts. I think it's called Young Guitar, I think.
Yeah. I don't remember the title of it, but I've watched it a couple times. And of course, his Nihongo, which is, you know, the Japanese language, it's impeccable. I mean, my wife says he sounds exactly like he was born and raised there.
Yeah. And I just think, like, how come we don't have TV shows like that there? Like, I'd watch the shit out of this.
Yeah. Man,
licked and played. He's on with Paul Gilbert.
Yeah, no, dude, Paul Gilbert, oh man, we could talk so much about this. My poor listeners, they're gonna hate this show because I'm on Tangent City today. But
another name drop.
But dude, I'm telling you, there was an interview with Justin Bieber. Well, in 2012, when I was visiting my family, they have a morning show over there. It's like, you know, it's like Good Morning America, okay, or whatever it would be in Canada, and they had Justin Bieber on, and it was fantastic. It was hilarious, and he played ping pong. Do you know he plays ping pong?
Yeah, I heard something about that. I heard he's actually very good.
He's like a freaking Olympic champion. I mean, like, you wouldn't even believe it. He can destroy people, and so yeah, you get these experiences. Everything about Japan is so ramped up and weird and eccentric. I was walking through a clothing store in a shopping mall, and they were playing late 70s prog rock on the speaker system, and I'm like, I have to live here.
Yes. I can't find a word for it. It's like
on purpose.
Yeah, it's like I want to do something different, and I love it. Like, it's
My friend from Norway says Japan is the land of Zen and sugar-free cotton candy.
I can agree with that. No, it's just, and I hear it's like very small too, but it seems so big.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's always fascinated me.
Yeah. Well, we'll get off this topic, but dude, you got to get to Japan for sure. I mean, it's an extraordinary market for a guy like you, because everybody there is a worker bee. You know what I mean? That's the life. That's the culture. Everybody's a worker bee. Everybody complies, right? And that pent-up nature of the Japanese social system is a perfect opportunity for Tymo to break out. So you might be the biggest band in Japan if you can get the steam behind it, you know.
That would be really awesome. And hopefully we can collaborate with Marty Friedman.
I would love that. I don't know him, but one of my good friends is one of his best friends, so I might be able to connect you.
Small world.
Yeah.
I just like to sit and watch him play, like, in person. Like, I'd put my guitar down, like, okay, it's all you, bud. I'm not even gonna try, and I'd like to jam with him, of course, but
yeah.
But see that in person, like,
yeah. There are some people that are just so extraordinary that, you know, you gotta just give it to them. I mean, what are you gonna do? Like you said, I'll jam with you, dude, but I'm not gonna try to trade solos with you.
Yeah, like, you, sir, are the reason why I'm playing, so I'm
Right. So going back to the record, I got to ask this before we get out of here. I have to ask about the themes of the record. When I was reading the promo stuff, your EPK, you talked about everything from alien invasions to substance abuse. You know what I mean? Mental health concerns, all these things, and you talked about chaos and disorder and.
Yeah.
I'm curious why those concepts, like what about those concepts turns you on or makes you feel like you have to write songs around them?
Our concepts are not even really pre-planned. Like, we'll have the song ready instrumentally.
Gotcha.
And then we'll be like, okay, it needs lyrics now. And it could be what someone's feeling at the moment. It could be something from a TV show. like Mars Attacks, for example. I know Nick was reading the comics, and like I know there's the movie too, but they had a whole comic series, and he was inspired by that, and that's how Mars Attacks got written. But songs like Sanity Clause, like the darker ones,
Sanity Clause, I love
it could
that.
be just a bad day driving home from work, you know, a bad day at work. Like you just want to go all out and freedom right, and then edit it so it's somewhat appropriate. And then Age of Deception, that one's like really about social media and how like we're more connected, but we're further apart.
Yeah.
Like everyone has an excuse now to be like, oh yeah, I'll just text you or something like that. Like no one will make the effort to actually show up to one's doorstep and knock on the door. Yeah. Or when you get technology in front of you, everyone's nice to each other in like walking down an aisle. If you bump into someone, it's just like, oh, sorry. Yeah. And then once you get behind a car and someone gets in front of you, it's just honk, you idiot. Like that's kind of what that one's about. And yeah, it's all over the place. But I'm starting to see a trend of chaos and destruction in our lyrics. And yeah, I think it's just about getting like certain feelings out. You know, life isn't the easiest for anyone, and I feel like this is an outlet just to really get that all out and do a song.
I mean, Tim, you seem like a really, I mean, again, I've been having a blast today. You seem like a really, really nice, kind, sweet, funny, interesting, hyper guy, right? Like you've got all the good things going on. You got great music coming out. You're motivated about life. I mean, we seem to be having a good time here today. Like, you know, one of the things that I've been doing recently is talking to people about like mental health and addiction and difficulties, things that people are going through. And then I meet somebody like you who seems to really kind of have, excuse my language, but your shit together, right? You know what I mean?
I really appreciate that because there's days I'm just like, oh my God, I'm failing hardcore. And I think we all feel like that to a degree. Yeah. It's a very competitive world. And some people cope in different ways. Some people go to alcohol. Some people go to drugs.
Yeah.
And other addictions, eating, video games. But we all have our outlets, like everything in moderation, of course. You know, some people that stay quiet when they're depressed and some that talk. And I don't know. I just try to focus on things that make me happy. Like, of course, like everyone else, I have my good days and bad days. But like, you know, talking with you right now about music, like this is my happy place. Like this is where the passion is.
Yeah. I think that's why I'm being such a spaz too, because I mean, I'm genuinely happy tonight. You know, this has been a kind of a weird and long day. And I had a couple interviews earlier today, so I'm honestly kind of burned out, but I love talking with you, man. I mean, like you bring, man, you just bring the right kind of noise to my life. You know what I mean?
That's good to hear. That's really good to hear. Thank you. Cause it's all these days, they just blend together and you just think like, oh, right?
Yeah. Well, you live in Edmonton, though, so every day blends together up there. It's cold and it's dark.
Right now it's dark. Yeah, the sun is currently going down at around 5 o'clock, especially in the winter months. It has been weird this winter. Like it keeps warming up, so everything's melting, and then freezing overnight, so the roads are skating rinks. And that has been an ongoing trend this last month. So everyone's grumpy.
Yeah. Have you ever? I mean, I don't want to go off too much of a tangent, but have you ever considered getting out of Edmonton, or coming further south, or maybe heading to a bigger market like Vancouver or Toronto?
Absolutely. Like we definitely want to play shows there. Living there, I'm not 100% sure yet. Like really big jump, but definitely like getting out there, playing more shows. We want to get down into the States and play shows. We want to get over to Europe, South America, every country, every continent.
Yeah.
Even Antarctica, we can.
Yeah. Well, you got to be smart about where you go because it's so what's the word? It's not, You know what I mean? It's expensive as hell.
If you're Metallica, right? Like one of the big acts, but yeah, you really got to target your audience. Like, I think we're going to start with Europe, like going over to Germany and Poland. Like, we just try to pay attention to where our sales are coming from. Like, okay, a lot of people in Germany are buying the album, so maybe we should go there. And then, of course, Japan, that's another one.
Yeah. And Sodom is still together 35 years later.
That is amazing.
You got to open for him, bro.
That would be an honor.
It would be crazy. And you can actually hear him say those crazy lyrics live in person.
Oh, I'd love to hear Agent Orange live.
Oh.
Like, I love that whole record. That is
yeah.
I remember the first time I was 18, I was hungover, and I found this YouTube channel, and it was just like greatest thrash bands of all time, and Sodom was on there, and I'm just like, whoa.
Yeah.
Death was on there, and Toxic Holocaust and Nuclear Assault.
Oh my God.
I loved it.
Yeah. I got one more question for you.
Okay.
So recently I interviewed Exhorder. Do you know who they are?
No.
Okay.
I may have heard a song or so. I'm so bad with names.
They released a seminal sort of a punk thrash album in 1990 called Slaughter in the Vatican.
Nice.
Yeah. And it's got the old school. You'll have to look it up. It's got the old school, like it's a anime. I mean, like a cartoon cover. You know what I mean? It looks like an old school thrash record. You know what I'm talking about?
I love it.
And like there's people on pikes and they've been decapitated. I mean, it's totally effed up. It's awesome.
My favorite kind of stuff.
But you don't know this, of course, because you know about the band. But I'm telling you, man, when you listen to them, you'll understand. They influenced everybody. They are the reason Pantera and Crowbar exist. They are the original Louisiana thrash groove band. They are the originals.
Okay.
And they went through personnel changes. Every time they started to hit, a wave, they would break up. I mean, they've released 3 albums in 30 years. You know what I mean? But all that being said, the thing that I dig about them is they stayed true to themselves. You know what I mean? And when I saw the band, they actually came through Seattle here just a few weeks ago. And sadly, because again, nobody knows who they are, there was like 10 people in the club. I mean, it was totally depressing. And yet, I talked to the singer afterwards, and I mean, his name's Kyle, and he's just super killer dude. I mean, he's just such a great cat. And he lives and he dies his music. I mean, it's truly the only thing he cares about. And he probably loses money on tour every time he goes out, but he does it because he can't not do it.
Well, it makes them feel full. Like it makes, the same thing with us too. Like I at this point, I don't see us living off of it, but if we can break even or just do it and have fans that would be willing to show up and purchase our albums, like, yeah, that is more than enough. Just the playing too.
Yeah. I mean, and I guess that's really the question, and you probably already answered it for me, but it's like knowing that money's probably not going to be a thing. Right? Just nature. It's the nature of the style of music. If you were to get one thing out of being a performer or a songwriter, what would you like to be remembered for is basically the question.
The music.
Gotcha.
If I know our album is being played around the world and it's inspiring someone, or even inspiring someone to become the next big superstar, I'm happy with that. Like I just want it to reach people and connect with people, even if I'm homeless and in debt. Hey, my music spoke to people. So,
I mean, I think about this a lot. I'll let you go, but I got to say this. I got to say this because you're a cool guy. What if, right? What if our lives were supposed to, what if our purpose in life is just for you and I to meet? Right? Like, I mean, I know that sounds crazy, But why can't it be that sort of thing? Why can't it be that, you have created something really spectacular, unrelenting, all leading to this moment? It sounds like we're falling in love or something, but you know what I mean? But leading to this moment where we can become friends and change each other's lives and influence each other. And you know what I mean? I just love that idea of the possibilities of bumping into somebody who's got a skill that you always have admired, and you finally meet them and you find out that they're really cool on top of it,
Yeah, it's really good feeling. I think you just have to, share make your passion known. You love for metal or the instrument you play. I think you just have to get it out there. You have to be open. You have to wear it on your sleeve. And then the more you're vocal about it, and then you'll start bumping into other people that feel the exact same way. And that could be about anything too. It's like, as long as you're passionate about something, you're going to run into other people that have passion. And never internalize it. That's my advice to all musicians or artists. Just wear it on your sleeve. Never be ashamed. We're born this way.
That is a perfect way to end it, brother. So look, dude, seriously, Tim, thank you so much, man. I'm so glad you had the courage to name a band after yourself.
Yeah, it's egotistical. Like, trust me, we tried to come up with another name, and it was just like coming off so forced. And by the time it came to when the other guys joined, it was like, we're already playing shows. We already have songs released. And if we change the name, it might, hard to say. Can't say for sure. But if we do think of a really awesome name that we can't resist, I'm open to it for sure. But just
leave it alone, man. It's better than Blind Melon.